The transformation in St. Kitts and Nevis, ignited by the BNTF program, continues under the Basic Needs Trust Fund 4th program. But what exactly is BNTF?
The Basic Needs Trust Fund program started in 1979 with grant funding of $10.5 million from the United States Agency for International Development. In 1979, there were 8 beneficiary countries, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Kitts Nevis, Belize, and Guyana. In 1984, the BNTF second program was approved by the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank. This added some additional funds to that was made available for BNTF 1. In 1992, we had BNTF 3, which implemented quite a number of large projects in St. Kitts Nevis and in other participating countries. At present, we are implementing some 55 projects under the 4th BNTF program, which was approved by the Caribbean Development Bank in 1995.
BNTF 4 has several objectives designed to impact a wide cross-section of the community. Mr. Oliver Knight, Director of Planning, tells us more.
The main objective of the Basic Needs Trust Fund 4th program, BNTF 4, is to alleviate poverty in the Federation and to create job opportunities to the people in the different communities. The BNTF program initiates this main objective by mitigating some social constraints and thereby improving the quality of life of residents in the communities.
This BNTF 4 program added some variations to those that were approved before. For example, the Caribbean Development Bank, in order to get a number of stakeholders involved, insisted that the participating countries establish what is called a project advisory committee or a project steering committee. The project advisory committee would advise the government on the projects to be implemented and oversee the implementation of the projects. On the other hand, the project steering committee would take sole responsibility for the identification, the implementation, and the completion of all of the projects. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis opted to establish what is called the Project Advisory Committee. And this committee comprises of members of the Ministry of Finance, members of Communications and Work, members of non-government organizations, community-based organizations, grassroots organizations, and the private sector. As I said before, the whole idea of establishing such a committee is to give more involvement to stakeholders and in the event that BNTF 5 is not approved, there will be some committee already established to source funds for the continuation of the work, the beneficial work that has been undertaken by the Basic Needs Trust Fund program. We in St. Kitts and Nevis have been very fortunate on the BNTF 4. For up to date, we have successfully implemented over 50 projects. The projects are implemented in health, education, roads, drainage and footpath, water supply system, daycare centers, retail outlets, and there is a totally new different category which is called skills training. The idea behind this is that the bank feels that if you can identify certain projects on which young entrepreneurs, young men in the community can practice or develop a skill, then it will be better for them in the long run in securing some means of making some kind of income. There are a number of selection criteria that were laid down by the Caribbean Development Bank for each category of project.
The process is quite simple. The community worker goes out into the community and she speaks with a number of persons in that community in an effort to identify projects that would be most beneficial to that particular community. Having selected from those sessions the projects that in their estimation would be of tantamount importance to that community, the community worker then brings the projects to the Project Advisory Committee for ratification. The process is usually very exciting because the committee is comprised of members from different sectors of the community. So you are hearing views from a wide cross-section of persons. However, eventually the majority of projects are approved by the committee. Having approved these projects, the project proposals would be prepared and forwarded to CDB through the project manager who is based on St. Kitts. CDB then gives the final approval and the project proposals are then returned to the country for implementation.
At least 3 bids must be received for each infrastructural project that is being undertaken. These bids are evaluated by the consultant assigned to the particular project, and the recommendation is made by that consultant to award the contract for implementation to the successful bidder.
BNTF 4 began the implementation of projects in August 1998. To date, 55 major projects at a cost of over $4 million have been planned. Of these projects, 43 have been implemented in St. Kitts and 12 in Nevis.
There are several categories of projects that are undertaken under the BNTF program. We have large projects which can go up to a maximum of $500,000 US. We have small community-based projects which can go up to a maximum of $20,000 US. The idea behind these small community-based projects is basically to get the communities involved, to have a stake in the actual implementation of the project, which in my mind will give some lend some vent for the protection of whatever infrastructure is undertaken. So far, we have had 2 very successful projects done under this category. The first one was done in November of the year 2000, which was the repainting of the Marlinia Primary School, where we had members of the football team, the Marlinia football team. We had parents involved in the painting. There's also a church that uses the school. We had members of that church, and of course we had teachers and students. And the second one was the repainting of 2 blocks at the Sandy Point High School. Again, a number of students and teachers and parents were involved in this repainting process. We